Charles Jones, the defendant, is guilty of first-degree murder as charged.
I'm just here to be a man and take responsibility and express my feelings about what, this whole situation. That's what I plan on doing.
Okay. And how do you feel?
I feel very remorseful.
You dropped the Impala, the one that had all of these shooters in it, the one that was utilized in this murder, that was such a vital cog in this plan. You dropped it at your grandmother's house in Auburndale, didn't you?
I'm here to testify about today.
Are you going to answer that question, or are you going to avoid it? Because that's not what I asked what you're doing here today. I think we all understand what you're here to do today, what you're testifying about. I'm asking you specifically about your remorse. Were you remorseful when you dropped that car off and left it at your grandmother's house in Auburndale?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you check us out on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Hookah Anonymous _. You guys been telling us to create one for the longest, so we recently created a community where we will upload videos that we can't share on YouTube due to their guidelines. We'll also be dropping the latest to there first, behind the scenes information that you wouldn't find anywhere else on our socials. So make sure you become a member, and after you do that, head over to our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _ and follow us there. Now, without further ado, let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, as y'all know, one of the reasons I make sure I cover this side of content, where you have guys we openly see commit crimes, troll, and then end up in situations like this, is so that the YNs can get to see their future if they keep up with following these same guys' path. And here's why. It's easy to get sucked into negativity because that's all we see 24/7. It's glorified, whether it's selling drugs, robbing people, spinning, drilling, and taking people's lives. But what if you get to see the other side of that? I'm talking about the part where another man has your life in his hands, and it's up to how he feels on whether or not you can spend the rest of your life in jail or sentence you to death. The problem is they never see that part until it's too late, and they're in that very courtroom with that same man, and he sentenced you to a bunch of time in jail. So the point of these videos is to show this side, and hopefully we can convince a YN out there, or even somebody older, that life is bigger than your block. That being said, we have Sean Gathright. Sean is the best example of what your mother used to warn you about, what will happen when you hang around the wrong crowd. Because this same guy who's accused of being a part of taking a rapper's life used to be a good kid who played video games, did videography, and grew up in the suburbs of Florida. So where did he go wrong? How did he end up involving himself in a long-time war that has nothing to do with him, seeing as though he's not even from anywhere these guys are from? How did he get himself associated with these guys? So many questions that we need answered. However, he done got himself in something he can't get himself out of, and now he's basically pleading to the judge to at least let him get life in prison rather than be sentenced to the death penalty. Let me say that again. He's basically pleading to get life in prison just so he don't get sentenced to death by a judge. Do you know how crazy that sounds? Do you know how it must feel to actually beg for life in prison? Who does that? I'll tell you who. Someone who don't have a choice and they'd rather be alive. That's who. Now, it was 5 people in total who was taken to trial for the 2024 unaliving of Florida rapper Charles Jones, aka Julio Foolio. Rashard Murphy, Davion Murphy, Sean Gathright, and Isaiah Chance. They were all found guilty of first-degree M and conspiracy. Alicia Andrews was the 5th one who played a part in it too, and she was sentenced on first-degree manslaughter charges and given 15 years for her role. Now they're saying that she's looking to have a retrial because her attorney feels that she wasn't fairly convicted, as well as certain evidence not being presented. Now if I was her, I'd sit down and just take my time. All the other guys within that case have already been found guilty, so with them already found guilty, her chances of not being found guilty is close to none. Besides, they have her on camera stalking Julio Foolio in more than one location, and if the person she was with is already convicted, which is her boyfriend Isaiah, then what do you think would happen to her if she was with him? Keep in mind she only received 15 years. If she loses at her retrial, it's a possibility she would then be hit with the same penalty as the other guys and offered life or the death penalty. So at least she still has a chance to see the light of day, being that she's young, and instead of begging for life in prison like Sean Gathright, she may actually get released and still live a life. Speaking on Sean Gathright, he was already going through it in court, and he was even arguing with his own co-defendants, and when they read the guilty plea, he also burst out in tears. Then as of recent today, he even shed a few more tears as his sister was speaking about him in court and showing pictures of the two when they were younger.
And I'm going to show you 4G. This looks like maybe a holiday.
Yeah, that was Thanksgiving at my grandma's house.
What makes you giggle?
Just the fact that he used to do stuff like this with me, like he wouldn't do this for anybody else. He wouldn't sit here and pose like that or just be silly. We call it the white girl pose.
Looks like he's reading to a baby that probably isn't old enough to carry it. Huh?
Yeah. Aww.
How would he help you with your baby?
Like if I needed to take a shower or like get something to eat, he would just hold them for me and just let me do what I had to do, and I would come back whenever I was finished.
You know, you said that you've always been with your brother since, you know, he was born, and you guys moved around a lot together.
Yes.
How's it been without having him around to help you?
It's been hard. Being a mom, I don't really think about it as much as I know I feel it, just because I'm always doing something to take care of the kids. But like when I sit back and I really think about what's going on.
Okay.
I just miss my brother.
Will you, do you still maintain a relationship today?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to talk to him and communicate?
Yeah.
And will you continue to do that?
Of course.
And hopefully in whatever way possible, could he still be involved in your kids' lives and be an uncle?
Of course.
You have a moment?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay. Questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm sure at that point he realized it's all over and it's no longer a game. At that point, reality set in that he's spending the rest of his life in prison. Everything he once loved when he had freedom is now gone. And it's either that or he himself will be gone and sentenced to death by the judge, in which we will have to see how that's going to play out, because right now all four men have those hanging over their heads: life in prison or the death penalty. Now Sean may get it easy due to him being young and agile, but by easy we don't mean lenient. By easy, we mean borderline reverting to the old days and him being used in jail for hard labor and sweat equity, as has been mentioned in court.
Based on Mr. Gathright's age, physical abilities, things like that, do you think that the prison would benefit from him in a work capacity if he were sentenced to life without parole?
I say yes, with my experience, not only just in classification, but as former ward and even as a jail administrator. He's someone that's young, he's healthy, in reality, we need that labor, we need that sweat equity, and we will put them out there to work because we do have an aging prison population, jail administration, we have that. So we put these young individuals to work and get some sweat equity out of them since they are young and actually can do the work.
And I know we talk about life without parole and death row, but for our jurors' education, in Florida, what does a life sentence without parole mean?
A life sentence in the Florida Department of Corrections means from the minute they're brought in, they're assigned an inmate number. He will be assigned an inmate number, and when he dies and leaves in a body bag, he will still have that inmate number. An inmate serving life will never ever get out. There is no parole in the state of Florida, and they're not ever allowed outside the razor wire and the fence of a secured facility.
So the only way that an inmate serving life without parole would leave is when they die by natural causes.
Now, to break it down in simpler terms for y'all, they basically stated that Sean Gathright will be worth more alive than deceased due to how young he is. They could use him for labor, and as they mentioned, they can also use his sweat equity. Sad part is hearing that, it only makes you think of your ancestors because if you pay attention, it sounds like that's exactly what they're referring to. If you know, then you know. Instead of taking his life, put him in shackles and let him work for the rest of his life, and he could pay his debt to society just like that until he ends up leaving this earth. As unfortunate as that sounds, it's the harsh reality when you get caught up in that lifestyle. Sean is just reaping what he sowed. Now going forward, after being found guilty, they are held back in court in the beginning phase of them trying to determine whether they would get the death penalty or just life in prison without the chances of parole. And Sean would take the stand in his own defense to speak on his behalf, which was pretty interesting. Y'all check this out.
I just want to address the court today, and I'm not here to dispute anything. I'm just here to be a man and take responsibility and express my feelings.
The crazy part is you hear the voice, right? You hear the voice? That's the voice that they use in court.
Was this whole situation. That's what I plan on doing.
Okay. And how do you feel?
I feel very remorseful. This is a terrible situation. It's been a traumatic experience. To the victim's family, I want to send my deepest condolences, and I understand that it's hard losing a child, a best friend, a brother, a cousin, and for that I just cannot say sorry enough. I feel terrible about the situation, but I'm a firm believer that God can use anything for good that the devil wants it for bad. And so I am grateful for the people I've met, for the lessons that I've learned, for just this experience in general, because it's one that I'll never forget and it's going to shape the rest of my life.
Sounds like...
Now the crazy part about that is this, right? He said that the devil used for bad. But ironically, the devil used him for the bad. And I never been through a situation like this to where you're in court and your family that lost somebody and you got to face the person that was involved with it. But I could only imagine the feeling of a person that was involved with taking your loved one. You got to sit there and watch them say that they're remorseful, right? The nerve. And maybe he is. But at that time, with the grief that you got in your heart, you don't want to hear that. And then you also think, well, are you remorseful that you did it? Or are you just remorseful that you're caught and now you got to spend the rest of your life in jail?
There's that saying, it's kind of cheesy, but you make lemons out of lemonade or...
Lemonade out of lemons.
Somehow. I obviously don't make lemonade, but it sounds to me like you are going to try and make the best of a bad situation. Does that sound about right?
Of course.
And are you going to continue to do that?
Of course. I'm going to try to, continue a humble life, a righteous life, try to do the right things at all times. And,
Will you apprise yourself? We've heard about some courses and programs and things that you can get involved with to stay busy in prison? Is that something that you plan to do?
Yeah, so hearing Raul's testimony was, the first glimpse that I have of, what prison it could be like. I want to stay as busy as possible, stay away from bad apples. I want to, keep a job, get into programs, try to get into any vocational things I can do, try to, keep my record clean to, go to the best incentivized things and have visits with my family. And, I just want to stay out the way, just want to make everything, peaceful as can be.
The man used words as incentivize, right? These kids, let me tell you, they start using words that they never used before when they're in the court of law. Their voice start getting mellow. They start speaking proper grammar, right? Saying you're gonna stay away from bad apples. Where if you would have did all that from the beginning, you wouldn't be in the situation you're in. And granted, we all make mistakes, but definitely this is a situation he could have avoided. And you can tell he's not even like that. I've been saying that from the beginning. But it only makes you wonder, right? What will make somebody do something to that extreme that he never done before, and who was behind it? There was something behind the scenes or a driving force that would make you want to do something like that, whether it was money, who knows? But it's something that made him do that because he's not like that. And I'm pretty sure somebody will be brought to justice behind it. It's only in due time. And to make matters even more touching, his grandmother would take the stand and testify in court on his behalf, showing that Sean was a good kid. He may have just went down the wrong path.
Ma'am, please state your name for the record and spell your last name for our court reporter.
Last name A-L-L-E-N.
And Ms. Allen, just make sure you speak up into that microphone, okay, so everybody can hear you and the court reporter can take down everything that you're saying. What is your relationship to Sean Gathright now?
He's my grandson.
His mother is your daughter, right?
Yes, she is.
And were you involved, we've heard a couple stories, were you involved in Mr. Gathright's upbringing at all?
Yes, during visits and when he was younger, when he was maybe a toddler, he spent a couple months with me when his parents went on military services.
Was that up in New York?
Yes.
And how would you describe Sean as a child or as he grew up?
He was a happy baby, friendly laugh, explore his environment. He was a good baby.
How did you, let me ask you this, do you still live in New York?
I go back and forth
To where? To Florida?
to Florida.
So how often do you think over the years would you see Sean?
During holidays, Christmas, maybe sometime Thanksgiving, maybe sometime in the summer.
He would come, if he was in Jacksonville, would come to see you?
He would come to see me. Yes.
And when he wasn't with you physically, did you communicate with him at all?
Yes, via phone.
Tell me about, do you have any, from the time that he was living with you or memories over the holidays, any stories or memories that stick out to you about your grandson?
Yes, a lot.
So for all y'all YNs out there or just people doing dirt and not thinking about the people that you have back at home, you're being selfish. When you get caught for doing crimes, or if you're no longer here due to gun violence or something the way your life was taken, just understand that you affect more people than you think. And in this case, we can see that even though he would be the one doing his time, at the end of the day, everybody in his family are affected. So if you're out there doing dirt and haven't got caught yet, learn lessons from others before you. Remember that it's a possibility that you could be in this very same situation where you're basically begging to keep your life, and the ultimatum you have is whether you should spend the rest of your life in jail or receive the death penalty. And you know it's crazy when you literally have to plead to do a life sentence because it's your only good enough option. The sad part about it all is that, as you can see, Sean seemed like he comes from a good home. His parents were military parents, and between them, his grandmother, his sister, the pictures we seen, it all describes him as a good kid who just so happened to take the wrong path due to his surroundings and the company that he kept. It also shows that no matter how good you try to raise your kids, the only thing you could do is instill the right things into them and hope that they carry it with them for the rest of their lives. The rest is pretty much up to them. Sean decided to take the wrong path, and it led to him where he unfortunately will spend the rest of his life. And just to think, all he did was be the driver in this incident. But when it comes to certain crimes, it don't matter how big or small of a role you played. If you involved, you too will have to suffer the consequences. It just says what it is. Now before we get out of here, here's what one user would say as they stated, quote, "I hate that the devil had to use him as an example. It seems like he had a strong family behind him. Still, I swear peer pressure of wanting to fit in and be down with the so-called cool kids while not being strong-minded will have your mind thinking completely wrong. Hopefully in the next lifetime, he will keep this soul lesson because trust me, being a spiritual teacher, it will come around again in the next lifetime to see if he finally learned the lesson, and I pray he don't make the same choices. But in this one, karma must be served because whatever we put out in the world will always eventually be returned, and many people forget that." With all that being said, y'all jump in the comments, let me know what y'all think about this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'ma keep on dropping. I'm out. Are you tired of a bunch of social media gurus promising you results with their course, but all they do is take a bunch of information off YouTube and Google, then sell it to you? Well, look no further. Our YouTube Tips and Tricks Masterclass course comes equipped with SEO tips and tricks, along with methods we use to growth hack our YouTube channel. It also includes step-by-step ways to publish your video before uploading to guarantee a great SEO score, therefore your videos can rank and be shown to a bigger audience. Views and subscribers don't come by luck, and just how YouTube have an algorithm, you should have one as well that can guarantee you results. We doing websites and softwares we personally use to generate money creating faceless YouTube channels. If you also would like to skip the process and just buy other pre-built accounts, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, or Facebook, we also threw that in there for you too. We went through trial and error, so you don't have to. Click the link in the description or the comments and get started today.